All right, we are recording it. And so introductions first. I'm Dr. Hampton, and I'm the fair director. And I am the science TOSA, which means I'm the teacher on special assignment, which means I'm not in the classroom anymore. I just help science teachers in middle school and high school. My background is in chemistry, biology, and physics. I've worked in many places all over the world before I became a teacher. And so I'm excited in reading through your projects and the work that all of you have been doing. And the other teacher who is here with me tonight is from Hillsborough.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Ledgerwood. I actually teach at Liberty High School. I also do some engineering and math, but I have a degree in mathematics. I've been doing the Beaverton Hillsborough Science Fair for about 7 years now. This is my second year as a co-director with Dr. Hampton.
Wait, did anyone turn on their camera?
And once again, mute your mics, please, as you come in there. Anyways, I'm super excited to see your projects this year. The first time I ever did a science fair as an adult, it was just so energetic and inspiring to see students doing projects of the caliber that you all, I'm sure, are doing as well. So we're going to have this meeting get in pretty quickly here. Once again, it's recording. And if you miss something, you're welcome to email us or check the video later. So welcome to the 2022 Beaverton Hillsborough Science Fair. We made a tough choice this year to have the fair be virtual again. We did it last year as well. I think that was a good choice, but we are excited next year to be not virtual and back in person at a facility. So a couple of quick things. Dr. Hampton's going to throw up the BHSE website here as a link for us, which you just saw happen. And that's got a lot of information. Hopefully you've been referencing that throughout the entire process. But the fair is this Saturday. We have 2 judging sessions, which you'll see here in a few minutes. You're assigned to one of 2 judging sessions. And the important thing about those is each judging session has about 6 projects in it, and you will get to see 5 other projects being presented. So we got some rules and stuff for doing that. But in years past, when we're not virtual, one thing that students often complained about is they never really got a lot of time to experience the other students and their amazing projects that they've done. So this year, you'll at least get to witness 5 other presentations. We'll talk about the rules of that here in a little bit, but make sure that you're into your specific judging session. You do not get to switch those. Those are predetermined, and the judges already have a list and a sequence of what they're expecting to see there. Those projects in your judging session are similarly themed to yours. The schedule is all this is posted on the BHSE website, but the critical part after your 1-hour judging window, you'll thank the judges and log out. You will just wait for the judges to deliberate, and they will decide most critically in that time, are any of your projects in your categories, are they worthy of a best in fair finalist designation? And a best and fair finalist is a project that has been, it's gone through a pretty significant process. It's a completed project. You have all your signatures, you have your sources cited, you have all the critical information that's necessary. And out of those finalists, we will post on the BHSE website the list of people that have been nominated as a finalist. We will also send an email directly through our system to those people as well. And that email will include the Zoom link for finalist interviews. So that's where you'll get the link if you are a finalist. You will get a link to one more judging session. Still a little bit of a break. If you notice, you're free from 10:30 to 1:30, and you're just kind of eating lunch and hanging out and being nervous, prepping for the finalist judges if you felt like yours was worthy of that. Interviews are from 1:30 to 3 for that, and you'll get a little bit longer there. And then the judges get basically a half an hour to deliberate over the finalists, and we will name a best and fair out of that. Actually, 4 of them. So an award ceremony is via Zoom. Once again, we'll post a link for that as well, and it'll be pretty quick, about a half an hour, and that will be recorded, and you'll be able to preview it later. If you've got questions about schedule, actually, let's go to the BHSE website really quickly here. Here's your day of fair website. That's where you'll reference everything that I just mentioned. And here's where you find out which judging session you're in. And whoops, sorry about that. You kind of scroll up and down within it. So judging group 1 is all the same group of adults judging. Each judging room has approximately 3 judges with degrees and experience relevant to your category. Round 1 will be obviously this time slot with the Zoom link posted by Thursday. And round 2, similar, all the same judges. Please attend only the one you're assigned to. Don't attend ones because we just don't have space and we don't want to be confusing for which judge is doing, which students are being judged at the time. Notice in this first category, we actually have 3 different types of projects. Each one of them will actually be awarded separately. So there's a chemistry, which will be different than cellular and molecular biology. Those are different awarded groups. So chemistry is not competing with cellular molecular biology. It's just that's the judging group. Some of our judging groups are not split. So you have computer science. There were enough projects to have an entire judging group filled with computer science projects. So those people are all competing with each other under one judging category. All right, so this is where you'll go to get your links. This is where you'll go to get your schedule. If you don't remember what time to be where, this is where you can find all of that. And on our homepage, right here under announcements, is where we will announce best finalists for Best and Fair. It'll be a list of names, and then go check your email. That's how you will get the Zoom call, the Zoom link for that one. All right, back to our presentation here. Oh, where did my present button go? It's hiding under all the different things that are up. All right, so when you enter into the judging session, make sure that you come in with your muting your mic, muting your camera. You're actually only going to turn on your camera when you're presenting so that you don't distract the other presenters. So when the judge says, all right, and they'll announce your name or your project number, that's when you can unmic, unmute, and you will get control and the ability to present your own presentation. You should, and maybe practice this right now, change your name to your first name, last initial. So for example, Zoe Mintzner. Zoe would be Zoe M dash, and would change it to their particular category and category number. Everything's meant to help the judges know who they're talking to so that they avoid confusion there. Don't have a distracting background, dress professional. They should see you. The judges want to see you. That's why they're here. You're going to match the spreadsheet. So whoever's first in the spreadsheet for your judging group is first and second and so forth and so on.
And Stefan, they are saying that they can't access that spreadsheet yet.
Okay, I will double check that.
We'll see.
That might be a share privilege problem. So when we're taking questions at the end, I will go back and just make sure that that's shared correctly. Thank you for catching that. When it's your turn, you're only going to get 7 minutes. So here's what's critical. Last year, the judges mentioned that students talked for so long, they got so little time to really ask the questions that they were wanting to ask. Remember, they've viewed your project already. They've seen your presentation, they've watched your little video, they've seen your documentation, your project plan. They want to hear you to get to know the personality and the story of your project, but at the same time, they have burning questions that that you really want them to ask. You do want them to ask those questions. So my recommendation, you want to present for 2 or 3 minutes. You want to save them 4 or 5 minutes of time to ask questions so that you can really give a detailed answer and not just scratch the surface of what the answer is. After your time is over, there will be a timer in the session, and they're not going to speak, but they'll put in the chat, 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, time's up. So please respect that. Thank the judges for their time. Then you just mute your mic and camera, and you can wait in the meeting. Don't just bow out, stay and watch the other presenters if they're there. If you have a group You really want to handle the dance of who's speaking when. It's not like in person. You probably want one student to present your presentation and you want the others to unmute at the appropriate time if you're doing a group project. If you're having connection issues, do the best that you can. There's not a rejudging session for that. Test those right now. Be at a place where you know you have a decent connection. And also remember, they've already seen a majority of your project. So it's not a huge deal if you have some minor connection issues. They have seen a majority of your project already. But once again, test your connection ahead of time. All of you that are here, looks like it's working fine. There are several award types. The judges you will see on Saturday, they are category award judges. So they will give a mathematics first place, mathematics second place. So category awards are in your specific category. There are special awards that have their own separate judges that you self-nominated for and said, my project is this themed project that may be eligible for an award of this type. Those judges will never speak to you. They are only viewing the materials that you provided to them with their guidelines for their special awards. And those things are happening right now. Then we have the finalists, best and fair awards. The BHSE finalist is one that, once again, is of consideration for being one of the best projects of the entire fair. Of the 100 projects that are there, a little over 100 projects, that your judging group says that you are worthy of a nomination, your project. We typically have 8 to 10 finalists out of all of those judging groups. We'll see how many we have come out this year, but best and fair comes out of the finalist judging session that's in the afternoon. If let's say we have 10 nominees and we have 4 best and fair winners, those 4 winners are automatically qualified to go to the International Science Fair, which is in Atlanta, Georgia this year. And then you'll be working with Dr. Hampton and myself to register and get your paperwork in. And there's a process to do all of that, which is a little bit timely. You'll get emails from us, and please work with some pace to get what we ask of you if you're a qualifier. If you're not a qualifier, that's not the end of your story. Approximately a third of our projects will qualify for the Northwest Science Expo, which is officially the Oregon State Championship of Science Fair, if you will. Out of that fair, it's a whole nother deal similar to this one, and they will award category winners, they'll award special awards, they'll have best in fair finalists, and they'll award best in fair as well. And more people will also qualify for ISEF in Atlanta out of that. So that's kind of the list of awards. We will go over all of the winners of that at the award ceremony at 4 o'clock. And that is officially the end of what I had for the presentation. So we will open it up to questions. And while you're doing that, I'll go check on the spreadsheet and make sure that, well, actually I'm presenting, so I can't do that. We'll fix the spreadsheet, don't worry.
One question was folks having a little issue changing their names. So I think what you should be able to do is go up to the top or wherever all the little screens are that show all your faces, and a little blue bar should pop up that says ask to, or unmute, and it has 3 jelly beans, and click the 3 jelly beans, and that should be where you have the option to change your name.
If you would like to test it now, that would be great. You could do, for example, Kyle Raby could do Kyle R-CO project number, just to make sure that you can change your name successfully.
It's not yet enabled.
Oh, that's probably a setting on your end, Dr. Hampton.
Okay, so that lets me know I need to do that with our room hosts as well.
Now, realistically, when you go, this may be fixed already, Dr. Hampton, when you go into your judging rooms, you'll be given presenter privileges, similar to what I have been given for this particular presentation. Other questions about the schedule, what to expect, how to interact with the judges? Ronald, go ahead.
This is a combination between Hillsborough and Beaverton school districts. Is there the finalist? Like, must there be like one Hillsborough finalist, or is that like a requirement?
Good question. So in typical years, we do require that each of the districts is represented at least one time. It is not necessarily a 2-and-2 split, but it is a combined fair. So barring special circumstances, that is usually the goal. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Kyle, go ahead.
When I click on the three dots, I don't have an option to change my name.
Okay, we will fix that. I'm looking for why I can't do that for you, but we'll figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
And then there was another hand raised. I didn't see the name attached to it. Dr. Hampton, did you see the other name of the, there we go. Let's see what else. Do only first place winners go to the Northwest Science Expo? No, that's not necessarily correct. A lot of it depends on the size of your category. So a really small category might only be a first place goes from that category. And a really large category, computer science has, I think, 12 projects, and several of them have 12 or 13 projects in a category. So it's not uncommon to see second place go out of a category as well. Occasionally, even a third place will go out of a category. It really just depends on the number of allotments that we get from the Northwest Science Expo from our fair. And it's normally around a third of their projects. So good question. It's not just first place, although in smaller categories that may be the case. And this recording will be available on the BHSE website. We have a hand raised from Anthony. I think I answered Ronald's question. Anthony, do you have one?
Yeah, someone actually already said this in chat. I had the same question. How long of those 7 minutes should we reserve for questions?
I would reserve half of it. I mean, that's a personal suggestion as being a teacher and a listener of projects and student ideas. They've seen your 4 minute video, your 3 minute video. They've seen your slide deck. They've seen your project plan. They have holes that they need to fill. And the judges they want to go to bat for you. They want to say, like, this project is spectacular. And if they have holes in their understanding of your project, maybe you didn't consider an aspect that was kind of critical, and in reading your documentation and seeing your video, they're like, oh, if I only knew this, I think it would be spectacular, right? I think that's a question that I still have. So if that judge never gets to ask that question, then you lose that asset of somebody saying, when they're battling for who's first and second or finalist, best and fair, you know, I've often heard judges say, if I only knew this, like this was the part that would have been critical. So you really want to give them time to ask that question. Genesis, you have a question?
So then should our presentation be roughly the same as our 3 minute video?
I would not make it the same as your 3 minute video, but the same in length. I like to coach and think of your presentation in front of judges is to have them know you a little more and why you chose the project. What was the profound impact of your project on you? Humanize it almost, and not just like, hey, here's data, here's science, here's what I did, here's my procedures. You know, that's a little more sterile. The judging part is a little more personal. And I say this to people too, don't just read the slide deck. I mean, they can read a slide deck. Everything that's on there, they can read, and they have read. You want to tell a slightly different version of your story based on being there face to face. Juliana, do you have a question?
Yes. What are some of the examples that are often asked in the interviews? Like, what kind of questions do they ask?
That really depends on the category, the judge, and the depth of your project. So if your project is, kind of an exploratory project, then you're going to get a lot of questions about, why did you consider this? Did you consider this other aspect? Noticed in your procedures, this is a thing that you did. Why did you choose this chemical? You're going to get some of those questions. If your project went fairly deep down a particular aspect of engineering or science, you could get a pretty technical question. You may get a question from a judge asking, why did you choose this project? That's a common one right off the bat. If they're like, why is this interesting to you? Because they want to see the human side of it, right? What would you do differently? You'll get that question sometimes from judges, just to know, like, especially if your project maybe didn't end up the way that you started it. Maybe they read your plan and your presentation was slightly different. They may ask a question, what would you do differently next time? So those are some ideas, but it's wildly variable depending on your category and the judge expertise and how deep of a project you did. Let's see, we have
I changed the settings too, so you can practice that a little bit. And yes, the judges do ask the questions.
Yes, you'll get time to start. You will start off. They won't start with questions. You'll start off with, hello, my name is, and then get right into the part that you've considered as your couple of minutes of talking to the judges about what you did. And then I would chop it off yourself and say, what questions do you have for me? Like, go ahead and allow them to know that you're ready to transition to their time to ask questions. If you're running really thin on time, you may have judges sort of chop you off and say, hey, I have a quick question, because it's really hard to practice the time. If they chop you off, they're not being rude. They have a burning question they want to ask you. They've been holding it for days, since they first saw your project, and they want to make sure they get it in before the timeline.
Okay, some folks.
Advice on picking a category where a project tackles a problem across more than one category. So if you make it out of the to the Northwest Science Expo, you are allowed to change categories between fairs. Just whenever the fair has their cutoff date, which ours was February 8th or so, I forget the exact date of that. Once the fair cutoff day has happened, they take those project categories and put them into the correct spot, because it's a little bit of a puzzle to do all of that. But between now and the next one, you can definitely change your category. Your paperwork will be previewed again by a different set of judges. So if you have a project between multiple categories, my advice is typically choose the category that you feel like you did the most detailed work. If you're doing a machine learning project, but that was really the side part of what you were doing, and the real point was something in the microbiology realm, you got to make a choice on where your most impact was in the project. If you're having technical issues with the Zoom, well, I would definitely practice it, Anna, a little bit between now and then. We did have one student on today whose sound was a little bit tougher to hear. Doesn't mean they were on their final piece, but you're welcome to, we have our emails posted on the BHSE website, and more than likely, I will be the one that you should email. Dr. Hampton will be running a Zoom call specifically, and I'm not running a Zoom call, so I'll be probably a little more quickly able to answer your questions if you're having some technical problems, or if you can't find your Zoom link, or you're unable to access something. Each one of you will have a partner project, Zoe just asked. So if there are two of you, you'll have your first name, last initial, and the same project number, because you all fall under the same project number. And then you change your name by clicking the three dots. If you hover over where it says ask to unmute, well, yours might say something else there. There's three dots in the top right-hand corner of your actual image that's on the screen. Zachary, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering where we can access the spreadsheet with other groups.
Let me stop presenting here because I don't really need to be doing that. And I'll just go while people are still here. And that is on the BHSE website. We just had a slight permissions problem.
And I think the permission problem for me was the same, that I changed the setting, but it may be that I have to restart the meeting, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
In order for people to change their name.
Yes, I see why you were not able to view that. Okay, here we go. That may have fixed it now. Will someone please test that and see? I may have to repost the link. Rather than doing what I just did.
Okay, saying they can get it now.
They can get it now. Awesome, good. I didn't think I had to actually edit the website, that I could just refresh the link. So, okay, good, that's solved. So remember to attend your session. There's two different ones. Asher, we went over that a little bit ago, but just be ready for anything. It could be a series of simple questions. It could be some pretty technical questions. It depends on your project and what you've done with it. And some of it depends on the judges and their experience with your area. So if you have a judge in your area that's really, really knowledgeable, you could get some pretty decent technical questions. Not all computer scientists have done a lot of machine learning. So yes, CO is the computer science robotics category, Amar. So be ready to answer anything. And Anthony, you're up in my queue next. Go ahead. What question do you have?
Yeah, so those of us who have dealt with human participants, we have those forms saved. Will we be asked to present those?
No. Sorry, I cut you off. No, you do not have to present the forms. They should be in your folder for referencing. If you are missing something critical from your folder, you will not be eligible for best and fair. That is one kind of key caveat. There will be some projects that are missing some critical information and therefore can't be considered. So that's one of the challenges, is making sure you have all your boxes checked in you need at least 3 sources of information. Maybe it's 5. I forget how many sources it is. You need sources. There's things that you need in order to be considered for best and fair. If you don't have the human form in your folder, I would strongly suggest you put it in there between now and Saturday.
And some of you have either an email from me or perhaps your school sponsor that you were find through your SRC. And I'm not aware that anybody right now has an outstanding SRC issue, but if you do, please email me.
Question was how many people go from the computer science robotics category? That's a pretty large category. I would estimate that 2 or 3 projects go from that one. I believe it has 12 or 13 total projects. It may even be slightly more than that. So it's definitely not just first place in the really large categories. I think in the math category, there's 2 projects. So that one's probably just going to be a first place category for that one. But a lot of that comes down to judges too, because they give a score and then we see how that works out. Let's see, you will be sharing your screen. Yes, if you have a slideshow. Smaller categories, this was a direct message, but for all of you to know, smaller categories are combined together for judges, but not for awards. So you'll see animal science, animal and behavior are together. Of course, those are not competing projects with each other. They're very, very different. But the judges, to make the judging, have us the number of judging rooms that we can handle, they'll be judging those separately. I would get human participant forms in your folder. That's not a judge requirement to preview those, but that is a review committee requirement to make sure that you have everything that you need for human participants. Visual, so in the what to bring to the fair, or how to prepare for the fair, there was a mentioning a slide deck. I would recommend a slide deck with whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be exactly like the information that you put in your project. It could be the same one. If it is the exact same one, obviously don't present it to them by reading to them because they've read it before already. It's been in your folder. If your slide deck is not in your folder yet, it's possible a judge has judged your category, prejudged your category before the interview, and they never saw it because you were late putting it in there. So you'll know the answer to that question. If you were late getting forms in there and you think the judges may have missed it, you want to make sure you put enough information in your interview at that point because you missed the deadline for them to preview it ahead of time. Physical project. I would include pictures if you didn't have pictures and video, but likely in your video you had your physical project. If that's not the case, then you should definitely put some pictures, show some of those as part of your presentation, your slide deck. Human participants, we do not need one per person. It's just the permission form that I think it's form 4, or is that the risk form? There's a human participant form that had to be approved. So that's the one that shows you went through the approval process to use human participants in a survey or maybe an experiment or whatever it was. You do not have to physically show your projects on camera. You can use pictures. It could have already been in your video. That is not a requirement. Obviously, the more you show, the more the judge understands. If you have a physical object, the more that they understand how it works and what it looks like. If you haven't been giving that, if you didn't give them that information earlier, the better. Visuals definitely help.
Keep in mind your time frame is short, and so if you had diagrams or graphs, or if your project involved like a motherboard or something of that nature, pictures are going to be faster to show to the judges than trying to move your computer and try to show something that's physical.
The human participant forms was asked again. You definitely want to keep all of those. You will not be showing those to the judges. Normally in a fair that's not virtual, you would have those at your judging table and the judges could flip through and see what some of that was, but that's not a requirement now. If you make it to ISEF, you will definitely need to bring those with you and have all of those at that point. In terms of number of projects coming from different categories, once again, we don't have the exact number right now. It depends on the size of the category and the number of projects that are in the category and the judges' scores within the category. They recommend you for many things depending upon how your presentation goes. We will get about probably 30 projects into Northwest Science Expo. So you guys are strong in math. We have 9 judges groups, about 12 in each group. It's about 100 projects. So that's about a third of the projects get to go. It's a really rough calculation. And you can kind of see it from that direction.
Question came up again. What if you don't have pictures? That's okay. Not everybody has pictures, but that pictures can help convey information quickly to a judge.
I'll give an example. Last year in the pandemic, there was a student that did a electrical engineering and environmental science project, and they had a couple of simple pictures of their project, but they spent most of the time detailing how the project worked, how it worked, how their mechanism worked. And their process of describing how it worked was actually pretty informative, more so than a picture. Sometimes a picture is great. Sometimes a picture is not the best technical explanation of how an object works. So All right, lots of good questions. We'll go a few more minutes here and see if you guys have any more. Remember, this is recorded. If you've got a technical question about the day of the fair, once again, you can email Dr. Hampton or myself as a, like, I forgot what time I'm supposed to show up. Wait, what am I supposed to do with whatever? Or you can watch this presentation again. All of this is posted in other places too. So any other questions? Got a hand raised by Ronald. Go ahead.
I have another question about after the fair. I remember when I was in my freshman year, it was in person, and we got feedback sheets from the judges. Is that happening this year? I know it didn't happen last year. I was just curious about it.
It sort of happened, and we'll see how well judges handle that part. It's pretty hard to be a judge in a virtual environment, to be honest.
Of course.
They do have a place that they can type in student feedback that lives in the affiliated fairs website. So I believe what should happen and could have happened last year, and I think some students I know did get judge feedback, just not all of them managed that part very well, is when they type it in at the end of the fair, when it's over, we will send out a report of judge feedback, and you'll get an auto email saying, here's the feedback attached to your project for that particular, it doesn't list the judge, but it will just give you the feedback that was mentioned.
Thank you. And a follow-up question, sorry. I guess it is a little late, but if judges have not seen our projects yet, should we add a judge questions filed document like we had? I don't know if it was NWC last year.
Yeah, we all decided, actually, I think NWSC is not going to have that this year either. We all decided not to give the judge question because it was a hard dance to do. And last year we said on Tuesday, judges will ask you questions and then you need to submit your answers by Thursday in a Google Doc, and that just didn't work very well. So we took that part out.
Of course. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for humans, should we have someone with us during the presentation if we're asked to demonstrate the project? You will not be asked to demonstrate your project in any kind of a live setting whatsoever. Theoretically, that would be great in a video if that were a thing that you felt like was necessary to enhance your project. But a judge is not going to ask to see how your project works. They could definitely ask you to describe it in more detail if it was unclear.
And Anik, on yours, I know your project, and so no, don't, probably be better not to bring a video or pictures of that participant. You can just describe it and the judges will ask you questions about it.
And Trinity, there is a different judging criteria for engineering and science inquiry projects. The judges have those already attached to your project in the affiliated fair system. It's just automatically assigned depending on your project category. So if you feel like your project is more of an engineering project, then you should definitely have chosen more of an engineering category, and that will get that particular scoring guide. Although, to be honest, they're so very similar that I don't think that's going to be critical at this stage of project of fair. By the time you move to NWSE, and especially at ISEF, if you are make it that far, at ISEF, you will definitely you'll definitely have different scoring criteria depending on the nature of your project. All right, let's take a last couple of minutes here. Last minute questions. Okay, it looks like that's probably it. Hey, you guys have done an amazing job to get it this far. You're super impressive students already. I know you're going to be under a little bit of stress between now and Saturday. That's okay. It's very normal. You've done the hard work already. So the saying that I tell to people when they put in so much work into things, the hay is in the barn. The hay is already in the barn. It's winter time. You did all the work in the fall. You put this is an animal reference, I'm sorry. You put the hay in the barn for the winter so that the animals can eat all winter. You've done the hard work. You just got to do the ending. The ending's the fun part. It should be the fun part. So don't stress about it. You're the expert at your project. You've spent hours and hours and tens of hours and maybe dozens and dozens of hours on your project. So be proud of it. Be happy with what you've done so far. The judges are going to see that in your presentation. We're all here because of how amazing you are. So keep that in mind and have a good time on Saturday.
Yeah, and judges, they want to hear and see you do very well. They are not going to be trying to trip you up or have you make a mistake. And if they ask you a question that that there isn't really an answer to, or that you don't have an answer for, you know, if you were doing computers and they ask, well, did you try this other algorithm? And you could say, I didn't. That might be something good to try next time. So don't worry if they ask you something that you can't directly say, yes, I did that, and explain it. Okay, doesn't look like there's a lot of any other questions. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.